An actual off-day show. They do exist. This is the DNVR Avalanche Podcast presented by Bet365. We got some news to get to, and then we'll be talking to Nicole Hensley, an interview about the PWHL, Colorado local. Is that the? Yeah, I guess she's a local. It counts. It's all same difference to me. Doesn't matter either way. But before we get into that, the conversation everyone was having over the weekend, Brandon Saad, initially waived and then made to get bought out of his contract or have his contract terminated, whatever. I don't want to get into the specific verbiage of it. Either way, he's a guy that is available. Obviously, a lot of people referenced his 1 year in Colorado where he played quite well. He's obviously not that guy anymore, but considering you could get him presumably relatively cheap on a deal, any interest from you guys?
Yeah. Eric, any interest?
Well, I mean, there's two parts to this. I'll get to the other part after, but I mean, interest. I mean, for me, honestly, I'd like to tell you that because of his contract, I didn't even look at him lately, honestly, because I was like, this contract doesn't make sense.
There was no chance on that deal.
Yeah. Right. Does that make sense? So we'll talk about that move after. It's rare you see what he did, which is, I commend him. It's awesome in a certain way. But is he washed? Is he done? I hope not. I don't know. I think he did something like this because maybe there is a glimpse of hope that someone's taken him. You know what I mean? So I'm assuming. I don't think that it's the Avalanche. Would I be interested? I'm usually not that guy that sits on the fence, you know what I mean? But I honestly have not paid attention to him in a few years, honestly, because of the contract. So, I would say no right now, just because of all the reasons. It's not like, oh, yes, where does he fit? For me, I don't see it.
I'm at least curious about this, right? Because I think it was obvious that he's been a really poor fit under Jim Montgomery, and I think the entire team was a poor fit under Drew Bannister. So that's tough. But with no second year on that deal to contend with, and a team can just say, what do you have for the last 30 games of this season and whatever playoff run we might have, I would be intrigued by it. It would have to be for $1 million or less, and that's kind of the stipulation. It'd have to be really cheap, and he's a guy that he's still a solid skater. He could still score a goal or two here and there. The solid defensive wing that he used to be isn't there anymore, but he might be able to drive a little bit of play, and he'd be in your bottom six. He would be able to give you a little bit of punch from your bottom six, and that's nice, I guess, for $1 million, and the fact that you don't have to trade anybody for it. And is he going to be better than Miles Wood or Yoel Kiviranta or Parker Kelly or pick a guy, right? Yeah, I think there's a decent chance he could do that, but he's not going to be one of those defensive stopper types where you're going to put him out there and be like, okay, no goals against are getting scored with this guy on the ice, like you want from a fourth line. He doesn't have the kind of physicality that you love in your bottom six, those types of things. So I would say that it's probably not a great fit, but it's not the worst thing in the world to be like, hey, your third line could be Brandon Saad, Ross Colton, and Jack Drury for a couple of weeks. Like I feel like there's some intrigue there, but
I don't think that's necessarily not intriguing, but it's the same problem we've had with a lot of guys this year for the Avs is he can't play center. You look at the Avs lineup and they have a lot of wings. Like maybe you believe that Brandon Saad can give you more than a Juuso Parssinen can. But that's realistically what you're looking at, because in a world where the Avs are reasonably healthy and you get Nichushkin back, there just isn't any room in their top six on the wing. There's not even really any room at center, if we're being honest with ourselves. But at that point with your wings, even your third line, it's starting to get crowded with guys like Parssinen and with guys like Colton. Even your fourth line, you're looking at someone like LOC on that line at that point. You're not taking him out of the lineup. So yeah, maybe if you like Brandon Saad as a fourth liner over someone like Miles Wood for $800K or whatever, I have no problem with that.
Sure.
I just don't think you're realistically looking at him as a middle six winger in this team.
Yeah, and like in theory, like a best case scenario, he's a guy that like, oh yeah, he provides injury insurance in case something does happen in your top six. Like that guy could pinch hit in there, but it's like, I mean, you kind of already have Juuso Parssinen. Like, is it really that different from a production standpoint? Like I'm obviously Saad's, he's been around the block. He's won Stanley Cups. Like there's a very accomplished player versus a Juuso Parssinen, but in terms of actually scoring goals and helping you win hockey games, is he going to be a significant uptick from what we've seen from Parssinen in Colorado, which has been okay. It's not been great. It's not been atrocious. It's been okay. So I'm with you. It's probably not a great fit, but if they do it, like I'm not going to hate it. It's just going to be, where do all these guys fit? What does this start to look like?
All right, that was the major news bit. We have some other Avalanche conversations. Go ahead.
And you got to commend him for what he did too, to get himself
definitely
a chance to have someone pick him up. You have to commend him. Yeah, you have to tip your cap. It's pretty amazing what he did.
Oh, for sure. Very cool to see a guy that wants to find a way to get on a team that can win. We do have other Avs stuff to talk about, but that'll come later in the show. We did have an interview with Nicole Hensley, which I think is super cool. Before we do that, though, we do have to pay some bills a little bit early here, as one of our favorite sponsors here is Coors Light. Make sure you're choosing chill. Go get yourself a Coors Light today. The mountains turn blue on the bottle or the can to let you know it's ice cold. Whether you're actually Coors Light, probably the perfect beer to drink to put together your rosters for Roast My Roster in a month or so. It's still a ways off, but Coors Light could give you some ideas. I'll put it to you that way. Maybe they'll convince you Brandon Saad is the truth. I don't know. Make your pick with Coors Light on that front. Whatever it is you're doing, whether you're chilling at home on the couch or you're out at a barbecue, if you live somewhere warmer than Colorado, choose Coors Light. Of course, you can get it delivered right to your front door at CoorsLight.com/DNVR today. And that is thanks to Instacart. So make sure you're getting with them. Make sure you're getting with the beer brewed right here in Golden, Colorado. Coors Light is the beer made to chill. Of course, Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Please drink responsibly. And once you've got a Coors Light in your hand, make sure you're also getting delicious Colorado pizza with Sexy Pizza. You can go get in with Sexy Pizza. They're more than just a buy-the-slice pizza joint. They're also helping out the community all the time, as they have a bunch of amazing specials, and they're always supporting, whether it's fundraisers or local sports teams for schools, whatever it might be. Sexy Pizza is part of that community. They have a ton of different options too, depending on which location you go to. You can get their daily special. It'll get a slice of pizza, of course, but if you're at a location that serves alcohol, you can upgrade that drink into an alcoholic beverage. And the best part is DNVR fans can get 15% off when they order Sexy Pizza with code DNVR15, either online or in store. So get with Sexy Pizza today. Sexy Pizza, serving sustainability, community, and hand-tossed pizza in Colorado. All right, we had a fun, long interview with Nicole Hensley, goaltender for the Minnesota Frost in the PWHL, if you did not know. Also was born here in Colorado. So let's go hear from her. The DNVR Avalanche Podcast back. Rudo, Tiff, usually our producer, joining us in front of the camera for this one, and special guest Nicole Hensley of the Minnesota Frost. Thank you for coming on. Hope you're doing well today. How's it going?
Doing pretty well. How are you guys? Just kind of enjoying it. Finally, like 30 degrees out instead of minus 15 in Minnesota. So, making the most of it.
A little bit warmer here in Colorado too.
We finally got some sunshine too.
Yeah, it's good. It's
Love
good.
that.
You are one of the reigning champions of the PWHL, successful in your inaugural season there. Walk us through that a little bit. How does it feel to be the first to succeed in this new league?
Yeah, it was honestly, last year there was so many moving parts and a lot of things that were a lot different from us than we've had in the past. So there was a huge learning curve, I think, for every single team, and we knew that whoever could kind of get going on that and make the most of it would, probably come out on top. And I feel like we did that at the beginning of the year. And then, yeah, I mean, anytime you get to do something in life that no one's ever done, it's obviously pretty special. So, to do it with our group, and we faced a lot of adversity at the end of the year. So for it to all come together at just the right time was, couldn't ask for much more than that.
It's a question I'm sure you've been asked a million times, but why goalie?
Honestly, I don't know. I loved the stuff. I got to try it like one time my first year playing hockey, and I like that you get to play the whole game. I like the cool stuff you get to wear. And obviously getting to grow up watching, Patrick Waugh play, like to have someone like that to look up to on the ice was, probably a big part of it as well.
There's obviously on the men's side of a bit of a rivalry between Minnesota and Colorado, or whatever you want to call that. You play it for Minnesota now. Can that rivalry kick back up one day if Colorado ever gets a team?
Oh man, I think so. Yeah, I think it would be. I think it'd be a ton of fun. Both like very very passionate fan bases. It's always I enjoy when the people in Minnesota are happy. So I enjoy when the Wild are doing well. But obviously the Avs come first for me. So
let's go. The right answer. The right answer.
Yes.
Tiff, any questions?
I was gonna ask. You guys are currently leading the league. You guys are in first right now. What's kind of been this like? What do you think the success has been? Winning last year and potentially going for a back-to-back.
Yeah, I think for us, I think we've had a lot of injuries and sickness, so we've just kind of been through it so far this year. So I think a lot of it's our depth. We have a lot of people that are really committed to doing their jobs every single night, and I think as a group we value what everyone brings to our team, and I think that's huge. So we mesh really well off the ice. We have a lot of fun together, and I think you can see that when we step on the ice and the way we support each other. So I think those things over the past year and a half have been really big for our group.
You a couple, not even a month ago, I should say, 2 weeks ago, really got to play in Ball Arena, come home and play. Well, you were on the team. You didn't start that night, but Minnesota played here. Can you kind of explain the feeling behind getting to play in this league on, honestly, not just Colorado, but this whole trip that the entire league has been doing this season to show off women's hockey?
Yeah, I think the takeover tour has been something pretty cool and unique to our league, where obviously we have our 6 strong markets, but I think our goal from day one has been to grow hockey, and especially the girls' side of the game across the board. And only having 6 markets, we knew how important it was to make sure we got those touch points and make sure we could be seen by young girls and boys in markets across the country. So it's been really cool to see what each market has brought. And obviously it was really special to me to be able to go to Denver, and just brings back so many memories and things like that. I was pretty sad that my injury at the time was a little bit too much for me to be able to play in that game. But it was still pretty cool to just, be on the ice at Ball Arena. And that was something that, watched a lot of games there growing up and never had really been on the ice myself. So that was pretty special moment.
The attendance record seems to be like a really good showcase that the league is growing and the game is growing. What do you think as it grows? What do you think is going to be the biggest challenge going forward? And how can media, fans, how can we help overcome that together?
That's a good question. I don't know if anyone's ever asked me what the biggest challenge going forward is. I don't know. I feel like we've overcome a lot of those from the beginning. Last year at the start, I feel like a lot of people kind of looked at us playing at XL Energy Center and were like, you guys don't need to play in that big rink. That doesn't make any sense. And then, we filled up 13,000 people a couple times and we're averaging 10 on the weekends last year. So it's like, how do you put, if you play in a smaller venue, you kind of put a cap on yourself before you even know what you can do. So I feel like we've overcome some of those things, and I think it's just continuing to push for more. I think obviously us having the games on YouTube for people to have free access to them, I think has been a really big thing in the States. You don't have to have some app or some media, anything. It's just like, just put YouTube on my TV and there's the game. And I think that's something that was a really great strategic choice. And, going forward, I think just hopefully the league continues to make great decisions.
Your pro career is just long enough that you're able to play in the NWHL. You were part of the dispute playing for the PWHPA, and now you have the PWHL in full. How has the entire women's hockey scene with all of this developed, and does it feel like it's in a more stable place than it was 5 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when we started the PWHPA, it was to try to bring attention to the fact that we didn't have a sustainable option, something we felt like could last for years and years and years when all of the people that are playing now are done. So I think that bringing attention to it and bringing, the right people to the table, the Billie Jean King Foundation and the Mark Walters group, we found the people that believed and had the same vision that we did. And I think through doing that, we've created a league that I think is far beyond what all of us even, we had ideas and expectations of what we could do, but I think this league has kind of blown the doors off what even we thought it would look like in the first 2 years. So, I feel like, with our CBA, I think we were one of the first and maybe the first league to have a CBA in place before the first season even began. So it was very much a player-driven league, like something for, we were protected on a lot of different fronts, and there's still growing pains and all that, but to have people in place that want the players to succeed, which will help the league succeed and help it grow, is I think was the right approach for our sport.
It's a little bit down the line, but you're a two-time Olympian, and there's another Olympics about a year out now. Is that something a lot of players are setting their sights on at this point, or is it still too early?
I think you always have it in the back of your head as something that you're trying to push for. At the same time, I think if you look at 4 or 5 years ago, the only way to really continue playing long term and focusing on hockey was to make the national team and be in that pool. So I think that obviously this league allows players to develop, play longer, get better, have more access to better coaching. So I think all those things make the national team pool that much more competitive, which is awesome. It just means that the game's going to get more skilled, more physical, just faster, all those things. So obviously you think about it in your day-to-day decisions and what you're working towards, but at the same time, to have an actual team to focus on day in and day out, I think is probably where most people's heads are at most of the time.
between all of your like the Olympic medals and the IIHF championship teams and all of your career, do you have a standout moment or something that just like has always really stuck with you and you're like, this is cool?
I think the standout moment for me was probably walking in the opening ceremony of the 2018 games. Growing up, every 2 years, my family watches the Olympics religiously. Like, we would all sit down and watch the opening ceremony together. Like, so to have watched that every 2 years on TV and then to get to be a part of it. And there was a group of us on our team that kind of decided, oh, we're going to try and get to the front and walk in first, and of course, like every single Olympic athlete for the US has like the same idea. So, we're all fighting each other to try and get to the front, and a group of us actually got up there and got to be like the first people to walk in, as they said, like the United States of America. So that was a pretty special moment, and my family was able to come to South Korea to watch, so they were in the stadium for that. So I think that's probably my favorite.
That's super cool. Yeah. A fun question for you. We ask everybody that comes on the show this, but a bad food take. A couple examples. I like mayo on burritos. We've had people that like mustard on pizza. Basically, some food you like to eat that people think is gross.
I mean, you said pizza, so the first thing that came to my mind is I like pineapple on pizza, which I feel like can be controversial. Yeah,
that's a bad food take.
No, it's not a bad. It's totally fine. Totally fine.
I think that's my best one.
Do you have? I know you're a big fan of Little Man. Do you have a weird ice cream flavor that you're a fan of? Like, are you like a pistachio? Lover?
When we were, I don't know if I'd go straight to like that, but in Beijing in 2022, it was very like it was the COVID Olympics, so you couldn't leave the village, and the only ice cream we had access to is like what they had in the dining hall, and it was 3 flavors, and it was like strawberry, vanilla, and pistachio. And for the longest time, I was like, I'm not eating that pistachio. Like, that just can't be good. Finally, like, got desperate one day for something different and tried it, and I was like, okay, like, this is not bad. I could eat this. It wouldn't be my first choice, but I could. Oh. So yeah, I think that one.
I love that. Kind of still sorry, Rita.
No,
still a little fun. If you were asked to give your ideas on what the Denver name and color should be, what do you think it could be? And do you think we could get away with the Yetis?
I don't know. It sounds like Utah's having some trouble with that one as it is. So
I think we'd be fine.
I'm not sure. Man, I don't know, because like obviously I'm a huge fan of the burgundy and blue, so like that always just stands out as like so Colorado to me. And then now you've got the women's soccer team and a women's rugby team as well. So there's just so many moving parts and exciting times in Denver for women's sports. Yeah, that's tough. I don't know. Denver is a city that has great sports colors that are not like the norm, I feel like, not just your typical colors. So it's got to be mountain based in some way. I don't know. Something to do with the mountains. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is why I'm a hockey player. I'm not creative.
You are so creative though. Like your goalie pads and your mask, and like I know you had like a huge part to play in like designing that stuff. Like you're very creative. Don't sell yourself short.
Thank you. Yeah, I just try to stick figure draw and then let the real artist take it from there.
You grew up in the same town I did, actually. I'm curious, was it always hockey for you, or were there Broncos involvement like most people from Colorado, or how did it play out?
I mean, I tried a bunch of different sports as a kid, I guess. My parents are from Kansas City, so my allegiances lie in different places that I won't say so I don't get in trouble on this podcast. But
it's okay. They can three-peat. It's fine.
Okay. Hey, you said it, not me. But yeah, I think I always loved playing hockey. Like I literally started playing almost right after the Avs won the cup in 2001. So I had friends that played outside next door, like roller hockey all the time. So tried that with them, but played soccer, played baseball, played a year of lacrosse. Pretty much anything you could be competitive at, I wanted to try it. So it's very fortunate I had parents that were willing to be like, "Yep, go play outside, go try this, try that," and yeah. So
I don't want to make you pick, but favorite place to play besides Ball Arena?
oh, that's I think when we played, we had a national team game in Seattle a couple of years ago at Climate Pledge, and that was really cool. That arena is really cool. So that was a good one. And obviously, we love playing at home at the X. And we have great crowds for those games, great fans. So those ones are up there. To play at Place Bell in Montreal, that place gets rocking. So that's a lot of fun to play there too. So yeah, it's hard to pick, but I would probably the X.
You mentioned Wah was somebody that you watched a lot growing up. Were there any other inspirations, idols that you kind of looked up to, whether it's hockey or any other sport?
Yeah, I mean, for me with the Avs, it was always like Patrick Waugh and Joe Sakic. Those were I was number 19 when I played soccer, and always looked up to him. And I think, yeah, I always loved watching the women's national teams for the soccer team as well. So a lot of those players, it's crazy, they're all retiring, which makes me feel very, very old that none of them are playing anymore. But yeah, I think I was just really fortunate to grow up at a time when the Avs did have such great role models on their team.
I appreciate someone close
Go
to my
ahead.
age. Actually, I get to interview. Sometimes we interview these kids in the NHL, and it's like, you're 19, man. Like, you don't even know idea what's happening.
You don't even know.
Yeah.
So old.
Yeah, that is crazy. It makes me feel when they're like, "Oh, so and so is like just coming in the league at 19 years old." I'm like, "Wow, yeah, good for you, good for you."
What's your kind of like game day? What's your game day routine look like? Having to be like the backbone of the team, you're really like the last defense. Like, how do you get your mind set into that?
Yeah, I think years and years and years of practice for one thing, but for the most part, I'm a chronic overthinker, so I just try to distract myself from having the chance to think about the game for the most part. It'll be just watching it. I always watch a show that I've never seen before because I like want to stay engaged and you know, in what's going on in that show, so I'm not thinking about other stuff. And then I like to listen to a lot of the same music I've listened to for a long time on the way to the rink, and then just kind of the same stick tape routine. We have a team meeting, kind of go over some stuff, and then from there it's kind of we go play. We try to keep the soccer ball up for a bit, juggling with it. I'm generally like the counter when we do that. Again, just keeping my brain busy because if I'm counting, I'm not thinking about hockey, and play sewer for a bit, and yeah, just kind of just keep the same routine. I wouldn't say it's like superstitious because if I don't tie one skate first over the other or anything like that, but kind of just keep the same routine and kind of just get your mind like, yep, we've done this before, we know what's coming. And yeah, so kind of it's all about just getting to the ice for me. Just like once you're there, you kind of it feels comfortable, familiar, feels like home. So just kind of keeping myself busy till puck drop, really.
Our co-host Eric Lacroix always says it's not superstition, it's habit.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with them.
You'll have to tell your coach hi for Eric. He talks about him all the time.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, I always laugh with. Everyone's like, "Oh, Ken played for the Avs." I'm like, "Yeah, like I remember watching him when he played for the Avs. Like I know who he is." Yeah, so it's funny. I like to give him a hard time and stuff. So I think when we were doing some promotional stuff when the Avs were playing the Wild a couple weeks ago, and Kyle Keefe was like, "Oh, how's Kenny doing?" And I was like, "Oh, just like to poke the bear over here, give him a hard time. That's what I do."
As the goalie, do you get to be a little more like mischievous that way, like a flower?
Oh, I mean, I wish I was on his level, but I think we're given a little leeway with some stuff, but only as long as you're stopping the puck,
If you're doing your job, you do whatever you want outside of it.
Yeah.
I did want to expand on that a little bit. You kind of mentioned your injury and working through that. Obviously, there's the tour you guys are doing. We've seen video of being at even Family Sports Center and signing stuff. Do people underestimate how much work there is for you as off the ice things as much as there is actually playing the hockey?
Yeah, I think kind of something that comes with like being on the women's sports side of things is it's kind of expected of you that you're doing all these extra things to grow the game, and it's something that we're so used to we don't even think twice about it because it comes so naturally, I think. But yeah, I think that we know that it's those like one-on-one interactions that are going to push the game forward, giving a kid a puck in warm-ups, signing autographs after, and we know those things are really important. And I think that comes from personal experience. Like the only women's hockey games I'd ever seen growing up was the national team played China in the lead up to 2022 at Pepsi Center then, and then in the lead up to 2010 they played one game at Magnus Arena, and that was literally the only women's hockey I'd ever seen live. So I think that we understand the importance of being front and center in front of these kids and providing them with the opportunity to meet or see or high five or get a puck from their role models, just because it wasn't something that we were ever exposed to when we were young.
Cool. I love that.
Tiff, I'm good. If you got more questions, go for it.
They're probably a little more fun, but I'll start with like how do you get your mind off the ice? What do you like to do outside of the ice? I know you mentioned TV shows, music. What's your favorite like show right now?
My favorite show right now, well, I was keeping up with Yellowstone, so I enjoyed that one. I just watched Missing You on Netflix. I wish that series was a little longer. I hate the limited ones. Right when you get into it, it's over. And then I have a dog rescue that I adopted a year and a half ago now. So just kind of, I love having her. You just come home and she doesn't care how many pucks I stop that day. She just is happy to see me. And I think that's a lot of times as athletes, we get a little bit too caught up in our worth in terms of how we're playing. So to have something that just has no clue what's going on in that side of the world is I think been really helpful for me. I'm also like a sneakerhead. I love shoes. I buy far too many of them. But I love kind of just seeing what's new and keeping up with that stuff. So those are a couple of the kind of my go-tos, I guess.
What's the coolest pair you got then?
I have 2 pairs of the Travis Scott Air Jordan ones. I like those are probably my favorite. Yeah. I love the backwards swoosh. I don't know what it is about it, but it gets me.
That's awesome. That's super cool. We're big dog people here, so yay on the rescue dogs.
I love that.
That's all I had. We really appreciate you coming on. If you had anything you'd like to say to the people, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I listened to your guys' podcast a lot on the Avs Cup run a couple of years ago, so kind of cool to get to talk to some of the voices that I've listened to for a long time.
Well, we'd love to have you come in. We've got this like pro wall where we have all of our guests come in and sign the wall. We need you to come in.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah,
next time you're in town.
Okay, I'll let you guys know.
We get to put you in the champion section of that wall, unlike the rest of the people on it.
Yeah.
Oh no.
All right, we are going to wrap up this segment of the show. Again, thank you for coming on, Nicole. If you want, you can follow her. You can see Nick Hens 29 right there. Make sure you get in on that. We will be right back after this commercial break. Shout out to Nicole Hensley for being on the show, but also shout out to Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. You can go get yourself one of your local Front Range Toyota dealerships. They got 17 all-wheel drive vehicles to get you around in the snow when it does snow here. They've also got 16 hybrid vehicles that will make sure you're saving a little bit of money on your commute, whether it's downtown or up into the mountains. Everybody could use a little bit of money saved. So Toyota can help you out with that, whether you're driving a truck like the Tundra, an SUV like the 4Runner, or just a Corolla. Whatever it might be, Toyota has a vehicle for everyone. And they're not just the official vehicle of DNVR, they're the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche too. So get yourself down to your local Toyota stores, including AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corbin Toyota and Boulder, Groove Toyota, Littleton, Mount States Toyota, Endeavor, Stevens Toyota, Aurora, and Stevens Toyota West in Lakewood. Again, the official vehicle of DNVR is Toyota. Let's go places. Once you've got yourself into a vehicle, you can get yourself down to your local Live Well and make sure you're living well. Use your local Live Well to get exactly what you need. All they're trying to do is make cannabis available for everyone so that you can live well. 25 different locations here in Colorado with fantastic staff that will help you through every step of the process. If you're trying to figure out what product is best for you, whether it's flower, whether it's topicals, gummies, straight up joints, you name it, they've got something for everyone. So get to your local Live Well. And the coolest part is in store, you can get 25% off any full price item when you use code DNVR. Just let them know we sent you over there. Of course, great products all the way around with Live Well. You can also order online at livewell.com. That's LIVWELL.com for pickup in any one of their store locations. Get with them today. Get that 25% off with the DNVR 25 code and live well. All right. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Obviously, we all want a women's hockey team here. Hopefully it happens soon. Probably being realistic that it'll probably take a little while as they expand out to the West. Right now they're mostly an East Coast league, but hopefully someday they can join us with the soccer team they just announced too. So should be fun.
Come to Connecticut too.
Yeah, a little bit less far to travel to get a team to Connecticut for you, but
that's what I'm saying. We're right here. Everybody always calls us the highway between New York and Boston. That's fine. Just give us a team.
Eric already has a team in Boston, so he gets to live the dream.
They're playing at BU. There are a couple games actually against Montreal and coming up there February.
Who you picking, Montreal or your Boston team in those games?
Got to go with the GOAT. Barry Philip Poulin, the GOAT.
His roots are too deep. His roots in Montreal are too deep.
Yeah.
She's also she's a BU product too. How's that? Double bang right there.
I do have a Montreal jersey. I didn't want to tell Nicole that, but that is the jersey I bought during the takeover game was Montreal. So
yeah, Tiff was actively rooting against Minnesota that whole game. All right.
I was getting ready to fight people. My mom had never seen me so feisty.
Let's move back into the Avs conversation here, as at the end of the day, this is an Avalanche podcast. Some conversations have been made, and obviously, don't read too much into statistics. I enjoy posting them because they're silly on Twitter, but 3 games of stats mean almost nothing for any hockey player. You've gotten some really good play-driving efforts from Marty Necas so far with the Colorado Avalanche. And people are already starting to talk about, hey, obviously Nathan MacKinnon's a great play driver. Do you separate these two? Do you put Necas down on that second line with Middlestat plus whoever on the other wing and help that second line drive a little bit more play?
For me right now, the answer is no, but when Val Nichushkin is healthy, I'm open to it.
Why did you?
That's
I just for the record, I just texted him that, and then he read it word for word.
It's true.
I was about to say the same thing. Go ahead.
Never reveal your secrets. Never reveal your secrets.
No, honestly, the the ability of Necas and McKinnon to gain the offensive zone with possession of the puck, it feels redundant on paper, but in practice, watching Necas do it has kind of created like a different looking monster in Nathan McKinnon.
Yep.
And watching him hide behind Devon Taves on the Arturi Lehkonen goal in the Islanders game, where he just stops at the blue line and waits. The whole defense is going towards him, and he's just like, "Cool, I'll wait." And McKinnon just slips in behind everybody. Nate just finds him, and it turns into a goal. And we have seen Marty Necas has brought such a weird element of speed to a line that already obviously has plenty of it with Nathan McKinnon. But like Necas is so fast, and his ability to play with the puck on his stick, and he has to play with it on his stick to be effective. That's not a guy that's gonna get two puck touches in a game, and you're gonna go, "Wow, what a good game he had." It's been surprising because on paper you do feel like these guys are a little redundant, but the way that it has worked so far is like, you just keep doing this for a few more games. You give this 4 or 5 more games, I think. Give it certainly until 4 Nations, and then when Nichushkin's healthy on the other side, then you could start to have the conversation about breaking it up. But who knows who will get hurt between now and then, because the Avs aren't allowed to have healthy forwards. So for right now, though, I let it ride, man. I mean, they've been awesome. Just see how this goes. Let them continue to work on it.
Yeah, I mean, I was kidding, obviously, about the text message, but it's exactly what popped in my head. Just exact same wording, same words, same process, because it all rides on Val, in my book. But I think right now, I agree with you. With those two together, that's so much speed. It's illegal. That's a speeding ticket. I mean, I'd like to be the third guy. I wasn't a very fast skater. I'd like to be that guy. Talk about all the room you get because of those two guys absolutely backing everything off. Like, you would actually think that you're a good player. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is nice. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I was very impressed. Obviously live, this weekend, seeing them. I've liked Marty Necas for years, and AJ can attest to that. But I really wasn't in tune with that speed. Like, honestly, I was not. I was shocked how fast he was now lately. Kind of watching him now more for that purpose. Boy, oh boy, can he fly! I mean, he flies. I mean, it's an asset. It's an asset of his, and I was pleasantly surprised. Honestly, I knew he was fast, but not that fast. And I think when you're throwing him with Mac, I agree. You got to throw them together right now, and ride those next few games, and challenge yourselves as a team, and see where you're at when you get back. And again, knock on wood for, that you're not losing any more bodies, right? And then you come back. Sounds like Val's going to be there on the way back from the break, and then you can assess a little bit of what you want to do there.
I do think it's interesting, and I'm not saying they shouldn't break them up, but to have both those options on zone entries, where on the one side you have McKinnon, who is pretty much just raw power. He's just going to power his way into the zone and power his way through people, as opposed to Necas, who is speed-wise, they're similar, but much more elusive, I would say, for Necas. You watch him do a better job, maybe even than McKinnon, of entering the zone in the middle of the ice and finding ways to pull off a spin move or be a little bit cute with the puck to find some space towards the center of the ice. So I really wouldn't be against keeping them together. I do understand breaking them up, especially if you feel like you need to generate more out of that second line. But I guess my next question would be, how do you sort it then? If you're moving Necas down to that second line, are you running Nichushkin, Druin on the top line with Lecky on that second line too, or are you shuffling around the other wingers too?
For me, look, this isn't going to be a popular opinion, but I would, for the moment, I would like to leave Juuso Parssinen and Casey Middlestat together.
I don't hate this.
they have shown a decent amount of chemistry, and if you look at their underlying numbers, they're actually pretty good. They're not. I mean, they're not going to bowl you over where you're like, this is a no-brainer. But it's like a solid set of results so far. And I mean, would there not be some appeal of putting Nichushkin down with Jack Drury and Ross Colton? And just having a much more balanced lineup where you're saying, yes, that's your third line, but it's a third line that's going to play 14 minutes at even strength for you. And instead of just running your top guys absolutely into the ground, you're looking at that balance a little bit better. Part of the appeal with Rantanen and McKinnon together was they were so elite together that it was like, look, the top heavy, it just sort of happens because they're so special together that you just can't turn it down. That's gone now. And now they have an opportunity to be a little bit more balanced. Juuso Parson and Casey Middlestad have actually had a little bit of a vibe going. I would like Arturi Lehkonen to stay there, but I'm probably going to lose that. And, you have Druin and Necas with McKinnon, and then Nichushkin with Colton and Drury. Like, for me, I would love to see that lineup get out there and see how that goes for a little while. But I'm assuming I'm not going to win that. I'm not going to get that wish.
I would say this, right? If Parson proves he can function there long term, the Avs just went from maybe you feel like you need a little bit more forward depth to you have 7.5 top 6 guys. You feel a whole lot better depth wise about the Avs if Parson can do that.
Yeah, you definitely and you feel a lot better about Casey Middlestad too. And with Parson, it hasn't been overwhelming. It hasn't, the production hasn't been so good. But we are talking about he's kind of a weird fit in their forward lineup right now. And you found a spot for him that's working right now. There are 5 more games before the break? I think it's 5 games before the break. Keep them together for those 5 games, and if they continue to work well together, if they continue to put up a couple of points here and there, I think it has to be a conversation coming out of the break. Like, stop breaking up things that work. And Lehkonen on that line worked well. The idea, this constant, we have to put Lehkonen with McKinnon. It just, I get it, but if Lehkonen is going to be the glue that kind of keeps all of your stuff together, then don't put him next to Nathan McKinnon. Can we please attempt to achieve some level of balance on offense? This is your opportunity to do it. It's right there. You can do it now. You just have to be willing to stop being the coach that you've been for the last several years because you don't have that personnel anymore. He doesn't have to live like this. He doesn't have to. He can be different. He can choose to live differently with this forward core. And this is one of his opportunities. I would like to see him show some modicum of patience and stop breaking up a lineup that is working just because the team gets down 1-0.
You gotta take a break, Rudo, or are you good?
Our break is this 1-second pause that you guys just created, so we're good.
And go.
Intentional.
Here's what I was saying earlier. Ruff, ruff, ruff. That was the bark of Nathan McKinnon. The dog. The dog barking like, I want Lecky. Ruff, 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 Lecky. You got to remember, top end guys, they they like their little, that's his little toy there.
Why is Lehkonen a little yappy dog?
No, he is. He's the big dog is like, hey, I want Lecky with me. You know what I mean? And that's what happens. You know what I mean? Because he's the fixer, right? He's why wouldn't you want to play with a guy like that? He does everything right. You know what you're getting. He doesn't complain. His helmet's too big. He puts it down. He goes to work, and he doesn't complain. And he does everything right. Of course you want to play. Everybody wants to play with him. Not once in the history of Arturi Lehkonen's career has he gotten there where all of a sudden you look on the board and 62, right? You know what I mean? And you see a player that sees 62 next to his and is like, oh, God, I don't want to play with Lecky. You know what I mean? No, yeah. It's woo, all right, I'm going to warm up. I'm going to have a good practice today. Lecky's on my side. You know what I mean? So, and that's kind of what it is a little bit with him, right? So he's, even if he's put away from Mac, you can see sometimes, remember, just look no further than that practice maybe 2 months ago where he was bitter at practice and he was barking like your dog right now. Like, see, he's listening right now.
That's actually
McKinnon was
Lecky,
barking.
yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? No, but I mean, McKinnon was barking. Oh, that's actually Lecky. I know, but pretend it's McKinnon for all purposes. Remember, he was barking 2 months ago, and then next thing you know, the next game you saw Arturi Lehkonen on his left side. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, he is that guy. But I agree with you. Why break up, things that are, but again, I think I have necessities. They've had to do it this year, right? You know what I mean? They've had to break things up because of injuries, but you're right. If you got a couple things, let it ride for a little bit. Let it ride just to see if they can find some chemistry that's sustainable, not like just a 1-game chemistry or 2-game chemistry. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
let it ride.
The other side of the Avs lineup, Oliver Kylington properly practicing again. That third pairing has certainly been in flux, let's say, over the last week or two. How do we see this playing out? Obviously, I think we all feel like the Avs probably need to go get another D at the deadline still, but in the immediate, Kylington jump in as soon as possible, and who do you run him with?
yeah. God, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I almost don't care who they run him with. He just has to be some kind of an answer for them because, Sam Malinsky had a really good 2025 games. It was really good, and there wasn't enough offense, but the defense was consistent. He was competitive. Like, it looked like they had a real find in Sam Malinsky. Since then, Sam Malinsky has been pretty bad, and the mistakes, the confidence, all of it has really tanked, and his effectiveness has gone in the toilet. I don't understand why they were comfortable giving so many games to Keaton Middleton. I don't get it. I don't want to. I don't want to relitigate this for the 8 millionth time, but it didn't make any sense. The results just weren't quite good enough to justify so many games, and even then, they were playing him 10 minutes a night. Like, it didn't make sense. Calvin DeHaan has been up and down. He's been what you would expect out of a third pairing player. I don't really have a problem with Calvin DeHaan. When it's bad, it's bad. When it's good, it's good. There's a heavy there's a heavy mixture of both this year. We've seen a mixed bag from him. That's fine. He's a third pairing defense. He is who he is. I don't have a problem with Calvin DeHaan because this is what I expected him to be, right? The other two, it has been not good for a while now. And so with Oliver Kylington, I would probably go Kylington and DeHaan. Kylington can bring an offensive element that they are sorely, sorely lacking at the bottom of that defense. They really need a little bit. They need to push it a little bit more offensively from that back end. So Kylington can definitely help them. He just can't be a catastrophe like he was his first couple of games as a defenseman. I know if you go and look at his body of work this entire year, it includes like 5 games at forward or something where they were all bad. Yes, he's not a forward. But those first couple of games, a catastrophe for him as a defenseman. And Eric, you know this, he's much, much better than that. His last couple of games that we saw him before he got hurt was the Oliver Kylington that we are hoping that we get to see a little bit more. Much, much, much more effective player. Because if that's the guy that they get, they need one defenseman. Right now, if that's not the guy that they're going to get, they need 2.
Yeah, and Shilly, I think if you look at it, he's it didn't start right? And you got to rewind the tape. He hasn't played a lot of hockey for all the reasons, right, for the last couple of years. So right there, you're behind the 8 ball. He comes over here, he's got issues with his visa. Then he's got no gear because it's stuck in wherever it was, France. Remember, like his gear was somewhere.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? Then he's behind right away the 8 ball, like when camp starts. And then obviously it didn't go well for him. He didn't play well. He looked really bad. Brandstrom, him, remember, they were going to be the depth and the extras. And next thing you know, they decide to keep Shilly and expose or whatever, trade Brandstrom, whatever you want to call it. And then it didn't go well. And then he sat for a while. Then, like you said, he played forward. That's not going to help your psyche. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, what, do they really want me here? Or, you know what I mean? And then it didn't go well. Then he got hurt as he was just starting to get better. My only concern with him is, I'm going back to my first sentence. He hasn't played a lot of hockey now. This is going on 3 years. And boy, oh boy, you know what I mean? Now he, I'm not laughing. I'm saying now he gets to just start practicing now. And then what do you have? Just a few games. Then it's a 3-week break, right? Or 2.5-week break. I'm saying man, you know what I mean? You just can't seem to get in the groove, you know what I mean? So, and that's my thing with him. Now, as far as Sam Malinsky, I like Sam. I've always liked him since he showed up. I thought that was a great signing. I still believe in him. Here's what I think he needs right now. I think he needs a big hug. You know what I mean? He looks a little bit like, deer in the headlight right now. I don't like his demeanor on the ice. I don't like I feel like, and maybe he is ailing something. I don't know, and I'm not suggesting, you know what I mean? Even though I play a doctor on our show, I'm not saying he is, but he seems like he's not, not really sharp on anything that he's doing. Like my eyes right now are shut, and it's awesome. But you know what I mean? I just feel he just needs a big hug. I'd love to give him a big teddy bear hug because he's a little bit shocked. You know what I mean? He's a little bit behind what I think his talent level is, or what he can give you.
Yeah, definitely.
Eric can play the good cop there. I'll play the bad cop then. The Avs are out of time for Sam Malinsky to continue working through it. That job is up for grabs. And, maybe Oliver Kylington comes back and doesn't play very well and Malinsky gets better and he earns it. But right now that spot is up for grabs. And whichever one of them plays better, it's pretty easy in my mind. You have Malinsky and Kylington playing for the more offensively minded puck moving guy on that pairing. And you have Middleton and DeHaan playing as the defense first guy on that pairing. At the deadline, when they go get someone else, it's a different conversation. But for right now, those are the two spots, and you have people battling to try and earn them.
Yeah, it would really, really help the Avalanche for Sam Malinsky to produce a little bit on offense and play like a steady defense the way that he did the first 25 games of the season. He was one of the better third pairing defenders in the NHL, which is why he got the promotion next to Gerard when Manson went down. They moved him up.
A disaster since, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There were some moments next to Sam. The Sams were fun for 4 games, and then Malinsky just went in the tank and has not recovered.
Andrew has a good question there. Just if I can answer it, just obviously the Avs have practices during the break. It's a great question. Usually, I didn't even look at this one, but usually it's all PA driven and league driven. So I'm assuming they'll have, 7 to, I don't even know what the total is. Is it 20 days off right now? Is the league shut down for 3 weeks or something, or 2.5 weeks? Yeah. So let's say there's,
I thought it was 14 or something. Yeah.
Oh, it's only 14. Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay. So then for whatever it is, 7 to 8 days will be off and you're not allowed to, be at the facility and, obviously, some teams, Washington Capitals they're not even losing a guy to the Four Nations. But obviously, then you have to be back for practices, and the Avalanche will be holding practices. But of course, they'll be missing 5 guys, and which reminds me of the '98 Nagano Olympics. We were missing, I think, 12 guys. So we were practicing with my buddies from town, and it was crazy because we had no players. So yeah, the Avalanche will be back for a few days, and they'll have some real practices. But again, they'll be missing some guys, maybe they'll have some guys called up. I don't know, just to make the practices even easier, to have more bodies or maybe Rudo and AJ will show up. I am definitely pulling myself out. My left knee is struggling, so I will not be, participating in practice.
You could do it. I believe in you. We are kind of out of time for today, so we are going to wrap things up, but just to throw it out there, Utah doing a great job of continuing to try to be the Avs' little brother. They've jumped from the Yeti to the Mammoth for a name. Get it together, Utah.
Yeah, well, and
What are we
then
doing?
they removed a Wasatch, and now they put in an
Yeah.
Outlaws. Another Colorado pro sports
They
team
want to
name.
be us so bad. Oh, that's so funny. I hope all of those teams are like, no, you can't have this name.
Yeah,
Oh, the big daddies.
no trademark. No, get out of here.
We are done for the day, though. We'll be back tomorrow with pregame, watch along, postgame for the Avs game, as always. Should be a fun couple of weeks. We got a bunch of fun stuff planned over the next month, so keep it locked in. If you haven't read AJ's piece, go read that on the Mikko Rantanen situation. Sign up for your tickets for the takeover at the end of February. We're doing it in a suite. It's super awesome. Go check that out. It's going to be a great time. I can't wait for it, to be honest. We are done, though. We appreciate y'all, and we will talk to you on the next one.
We all city like the mayor.